Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show. This time we're taking a look at two of the latest EV SUVs from Genesis and Toyota. New territory for both brands. Are they strong enough to win over hybrid buyers?
We also have Bentley's new flagship Bentayga, plus some two-wheeled action courtesy of Piaggio.
Plus a 60s icon reborn with electric power. That is all coming up. First though, the news.
Subaru has announced that the new Impreza will not be coming to the UK. The Impreza went off sale in Britain in 2017 and isn't set to return anytime soon. The new Mark 6 model has been unveiled as a hatchback design to rival the Volkswagen Golf and Honda Civic in North America, with the faster WRX already on sale as a saloon. The Impreza will only be available with an automatic CVT gearbox, but it retains Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system. The news comes as Subaru's sales continue to suffer in the UK, despite efforts to revitalise the brand with new models including an EV.
With every passing year, it seems that cars of all types are getting bigger and heavier. Additional safety tech, improved crash protection and all-wheel drive systems may appeal to most of us, but what about those who just want simplicity? In the olden days, there were plenty of options, and now one of them is back. This, believe it or not, is the brand new MOKE. Built in the UK, it's a remake of the 60s Mini MOKE, which was beloved by beachgoers around the world. Now obviously the design hasn't changed much, and as a result you won't find any crumple zones or airbags here. Instead, things have been kept refreshingly simple. A 60s design with modern running gear. Power is sent to the rear wheels by a 44 brake horsepower electric motor. It only weighs 800 kilos and it will only do 62 miles per hour, but frankly, that seems plenty fast enough in a car with no proper roof or doors. The range for this throwback EV is 89 miles, enough, says the manufacturer, for 5 trips between Cap Ferret and Monaco. The perfect location for this fair weather cruiser. Prices start at around 30 grand plus taxes, with deliveries already underway.
While many car makers stick to a series of numbers and letters for their model titles, Toyota is a brand that usually opts for a proper name. Supra, Prius, Land Cruiser. You get the idea. And now the world's biggest car manufacturer has released its first EV. A momentous car then, but we start off with a criticism. Unlike the cleverly named Aygo or the famous Corolla, this new electric car is called the BZ4X. That's a lowercase b, capital Z, the number 4, and a lowercase x. What a mouthful. A reference to the Japanese brand's push toward carbon neutrality, which will continue with various new electric models. For now though, all eyes are on the BZ4X, so what exactly is it? Well, essentially it's an electric alternative to the RAV4, rivaling the likes of the Skoda Enyaq and Volkswagen ID.4. And newcomers like the Renault Megane E-Tech and the Nissan Ariya. To reinforce its SUV credentials, it has some big, scratch-resistant plastic wheel arches and decent ground clearance. It's ever so slightly longer and wider than a RAV, but it has a lower roofline and longer wheelbase with more legroom than its petrol-powered equivalent. It's a distinctive-looking car, especially at the back where we find a steeply raked rear windscreen and full-width rear light bar. We're not sure it's a design that will get many pulses racing, but it does have some interesting details. climb inside and the interior is immediately much more interesting to look at with its slimline fabric-covered dashboard and eye-catching screens. The lack of a glove box is quite inconvenient, but there's plenty of space and an airy feeling throughout. There are lots of sustainable materials on show and vegan leather seats. The infotainment screen is 8 inches as standard, or 12 if you go for a higher level trim. The range kicks off with the entry-level Pure model. It starts at around £44,000, and for that you get front-wheel drive, 201 brake horsepower and a 317-mile range. Next up is the £47,500 Motion. It gets the option of four-wheel drive, the same 71.4 kilowatt-hour battery and a slightly lower range. You do get some more kit, but we reckon you're better off saving some money and going for the Pure. Top spec Vision models come loaded with extras, but the range takes a further hit and you don't get any more power. Performance isn't breathtaking, with the faster 4x4 model hitting 62 from rest in 6.9 seconds, but it's adequate for a family SUV. It even has some off-road cred with an all-wheel drive system developed by Subaru.
However, as we've alluded to, there are plenty of options in this segment, cars like the Volkswagen ID.4. The styling is a little more conservative than the BZ4X's, with fewer angles and creases. The interior seems a little lackluster next to the modern look of the Toyotas, but it is well equipped with lots of bits borrowed from the ID.3 hatchback. It's available with a 10-inch or optional 12-inch screen, ambient mood lighting and a very cool digital driver's display. It gets a selection of powertrains with either rear or all-wheel drive. If you spec it correctly, you'll see 320 miles of range with prices starting at a reasonable £38,000 for the basic Life model.
The Piaggio Vespa is now over 75 years old and is as much a motoring icon as the Fiat 500, Mini or Volkswagen Beetle. Nearly 20 million of them have been built since 1946, and with the 2 million sold in the past decade, it's clear Italy's stylish scooter is not going anywhere. Over the years, the original Vespa design has spawned a multitude of models to cater for all eventualities. 2-stroke and 4-stroke, 50cc to 300cc, the choice is almost endless. This is the GTS range, which has a larger Vespone steel body and bigger engine size options that, according to Piaggio, are ready to travel. Now, we're not suggesting that this Vespa will replace your BMW GS or Triumph Tiger as a go-anywhere, do-anything motorcycle, but with a top speed of over 60 miles per hour in the more powerful models, it's certainly capable of keeping up with out-of-town traffic. There are 4 trim levels available in the range. As well as the GTS, there's the Super, the Super Sport and the Super Tech. Each model can be fitted with a choice of 2 engines, the classic 125 I-Get and the 300 HPE. While the 125 model has 13 horsepower, the 300 has a much more substantial 23 horsepower, the most high-performance engine ever mounted to a Vespa. This is thanks to a rework of the camshaft system injectors and transmission. On the styling front, the new GTS is every bit as classic as the 1946 original and a true fashion icon in its own right. Like the modern Mini or Fiat 500, it is a respectful rendition of the original with the added bonus of 21st century tech. It gets LED running lights and indicators, keyless ignition and a 3-inch LCD colour display, which shows a wide range of trip data and includes smartphone connectivity with the Vespa Maya system. Other changes include a new seat, redesigned handlebars and a larger under-seat compartment, which can now hold 2 Vespa helmets plus extras. Add to this a new glove box with USB port, and this really is every bit as practical as any other step-through scooter. Topping the bike is a double-disc braking system with new calipers and Brembo brake pumps. Piaggio claimed this redesign translates into a significant reduction in braking distances, and this is aided further by an anti-lock braking system complete with Bosch ECU, which are both supplied as standard with the Vespa GTS family. Another bit of standard equipment is the electronic traction control. Piaggio were the first manufacturer to introduce such a system on a scooter, something that is now commonplace across this sector of the market. So, how much does all this tech cost? Well, a standard GTS 125 model will set you back £5,250, increasing to £5,650 for the Supertech model. The 300 model is a little pricier, starting at £6,000 and rising to £6,400. Compared to other step-through scooters, that is a lot, especially considering you can get an equivalent model from Piaggio or Honda for nearly half the price. However, while there may be cheaper options on the market, nothing will come close to the Vespa for its history, charm, and timeless Italian design. For that reason, we expect this new model to continue to sell in its thousands for years to come.
After the break, Bentley's poshest Bentayga and the all-new Genesis GV60.
Still to come, Genesis takes on Polestar, but first...
The Bentley Bentayga has been with us now for almost 7 years. And not once in all that time have we thought, yeah, it's nice, but we wish it was a bit bigger. Well, that hasn't stopped Bentley from building this, the new Bentayga Extended Wheelbase, or EWB for short. Not exactly the car we've all been waiting for, but no doubt it will appeal to long-standing Bentley customers who've been mourning the death of the Mulsanne and need something stately to be chauffeured around in. The EWB has been stretched by 180mm, all of which has gone into improving rear legroom with longer rear doors. The total length is more than 5.3 metres, making it 30 centimetres longer than a Range Rover. With an emphasis on luxury rather than practicality, the regular Bentayga's 7-seat option has been abandoned in favour of 3 layouts available for the rear bench. Buyers can opt for a 4-seat car, a 5-seater, or a so-called 4+1 that provides 2 distinct rear seats with an occasional middle seat that can be brought out if you need the extra accommodation. The rear doors can now be operated electrically with just the touch of a button. Inside the new biggest shell, the interior remains largely the same as the standard car, and that's certainly no bad thing. There's enough leather, wood and chrome to trim a medium-sized yacht, while the options on offer boggle the mind. Everything from the 22-way adjustable massage seats to impossibly expensive audio systems is available. In fact, Bentley reckons there are up to 24 billion possible trim combinations, so no 2 Bentaygas are ever likely to be the same. That figure runs into the trillions if you include different engine options. From launch, the EWB is available with the same twin-turbo V8 as the standard car, producing 542 brake horsepower. It isn't crazy power, but it's enough to see the enormous off-road limo from 0 to 62 in 4.5 seconds onto a top speed of 180. For now, that's the only engine option, but we expect a plug-in hybrid and probably a W12 to follow at some point in 2023.
We've looked at a few new cars from Genesis this year. Hyundai's premium offshoot has generally impressed with its range of posh saloon cars and SUVs. but we've known for a while that they were all just the build-up for something that has the potential to take the company, which is little known here in the UK, to a mainstream audience. And here it is. It's called the GV60, and it's the Korean brand's first full EV. It's built on the same platform as the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6, with either rear or all-wheel drive. From the front, it's clear to see its Genesis lineage with signature split headlights and the rather uninspired winged emblem atop the bonnet. The design isn't offensive, but it isn't as eye-catching as the Kia EV6, nor as striking as the super stylish Ioniq 5. The GV60 is a premium car though, designed to take on the likes of Jaguar and Mercedes, so the more conservative look is perhaps better suited to it. And the interior certainly doesn't disappoint. It won't be for everyone with its silver trim and crystal ball drive selector, but it all feels very expensive and beautifully put together. It's light and airy, with the flat floor adding to the spacious feel. The digital instrument cluster and infotainment system sit proudly on top of the dash, while the chunky steering wheel is festooned with buttons and switches, while the climate functions are also operated via physical switches. A big plus point, meaning you don't have to cycle through menus on a screen. Prices start at a little over £47,000, and for that you get the confusingly named premium model. It gets a single electric motor producing 225 brake horsepower with a WLTP range of 321 miles. Next up is the Sport. This gets all-wheel drive with a 215 bhp motor on the rear axle and a 99 horsepower one on the front for a combined 314. It uses the same 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery, but the range takes a hit to 292 miles. The top-spec GV60 is the 65.5 grand Sport Plus, by far the most powerful options. The Sport Plus produces 429 brake horsepower, driving all four wheels. In boost mode, this is upped to 483 brake horsepower for 10 seconds, allowing the GV60 to hit 62 miles per hour from rest in 4 seconds flat. Range is reduced further to 289 miles, but who really cares when you have a drift mode? Yep, the Sport Plus model has a drift mode, a feature that will be used by precisely 0 buyers.
The question is though, why wouldn't you save some money and buy its sister car from Kia instead? Okay, it isn't the prettiest EV out there, but it is certainly striking, with lots of interesting angles and creases that really do turn heads as you quietly glide through town. There are numerous power outputs on offer, providing serious performance for a big, sensible family car. All models can be charged from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes with a 350 kilowatt-hour fast charger, which should take some of the stress out of longer journeys. On the road, the EV6 can really get a move on. The instant torque means even the basic car is good fun to drive, especially when you stick it in sport mode. This sharpens response and firms up the steering, which is good fun if a little hectic on narrow and bumpy British roads. Inside, the EV6 is a world away from Kias of old. If you haven't been in a Kia built in the past 5 years or so, you are in for a bit of a shock. The cabin looks fantastic and feels built to last. The touch-sensitive buttons can be a bit fiddly, especially when you're driving, but it's otherwise a fantastic place to be. And then there is the Polestar 2. The Geely-owned Volvo offshoot has already made quite a name for itself with its popular electric saloon car. Entry-level cars get a single electric motor powering the front wheels, producing 221 bhp and are good for a range up to 274 miles.
The GV60 then has some real competition, but we knew that already. What matters is if it can find customers for such a new brand. Kia has steadily moved up market, and the EV6 is drawing buyers in with its flagship status. And the Polestar leans heavily on its Volvo heritage in both its design and marketing. Its success remains to be seen, but for now we like the GV60, even if we do prefer the Kia.
Join us again next week for an end of the year special as we look back on some of our favourite new cars from 2022.